Hello everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and I am here to show you a new mini album I made with the fabulous Christmas Cheer paper collection. Christmas Cheer, I'm going to grab the paper pad. Christmas Cheer is a paper pad made by the wonderful Country Craft Creations, and this is a design team project. You can only get this paper from countrycraftcreations.com. And as you can see, it's a fabulous, brightly colored retro paper pad. Well, let me just take you inside so you can see how wonderful it is. The fun thing about this paper pad that is very eye-catching is there is an elf with a martini glass, or it could be cranberry juice. And he just, or she, looks like they have such great personality. Love the little ice cubes here. I did pop them up on dimensionals just so they show themselves. And of course the peppermints and the red and white stripe are such a bright way of introducing the mini album. So this is quite large. It is 7 by 9. The spine is 2 3/4 inches. So it gives you lots of room for photos. And again, with this one, the same as I did for the Thanksgiving mini album, is I just took the approach that this is going to be a gift for somebody who's not familiar with mini albums, so I don't have that many pockets and flaps. I have easily detectable places to put the photos. I'll take you inside and show you what I mean. So here is the inside front cover, and I do have a pocket here. I just go tell you there's no pockets, but the reason I did is so there are some large photo mats so you can decorate it. And I used some real bright colored paper because that showed itself in the paper collection. This one page has a green, black, and white plaid with some gift packaging on the top. And so I used one of the cut aparts to illustrate that there as well. So this page just has a flap. When I made the tutorial, which by the way follows after this, I did not have this little cut apart on here. I just cut this paper about 3 1/4 by 4 3/4 and put a magnet in just because I wanted this group of flaps not to flop. So these are a little smaller because the page is 6 1/4. So this flap itself is right at 6 inches. So if you were to put a 4 by 6 photo, you're not going to have any room on the side. If you had a 4 by 6 photo, I would suggest just trimming it down a little bit. So here I've got some coordinating cardstock, which incidentally came from my stash. There is My Colors cardstock that coordinates with this set, and I just did not have it in my possession at the time. So this is really cool. I mean, I love all the bright colored flaps that open up so you can see how it brightens up the whole page, and I don't know, just liked it. And there's Santa on one of those 3 by 4 cut aparts. This is another hidden pocket mini album, and for the 3rd time in a row, I did not put anything in the pockets. I felt like there was so much room, but when you're making this mini album, if you follow the tutorial, you are quite welcome to add the pocket pages. So here is sort of a coordinating pages. So this is using some seam binding, and that just unties. And then inside you've got these cute gals who are bringing their mail. I guess they're putting mail in, checking to see if there's anything they got. And this is an accordion folder for you to put in your photos. So that just folds like that, and this ties to keep that nicely tucked inside. And then on, and as you notice, so if you decorate the same way, I cut this to coordinate with the paper below. So the photo or the graphic is sort of somewhat seamless. I mean, you can still see her legs and her feet going down there. And then this one does not come out, but it opens up, and inside there is ample room for cut down 4x6 photos. So I wanted you to be able to get landscape and portrait photos in the same book, but I did not make this like 7.5 inches wide. So if you had a 4x6 photo, you would cut it down. And I don't know about you, but I never have any problems cutting my photos down because I always have stuff in the background that has no, I mean, it's like the wall, so you can cut it down. So anyhow, there is that page. And this next one, I wanted to take advantage of some of those cut aparts because they were adorable, and I backed this on a bright pink paper, although it looks red on here, but it was. And these are duplicate pages. I'll take one at a time and show you. I say they're duplicate, they're not exact, because this one has that cut apart. And then that opens up that way, and again, this is perfect for somebody new to mini albums. It tells you exactly where to put your photo. And I also put a block here for journaling. So there's that. And then this one has a different color paper, but same thing, room to journal. And I use cut aparts here to decorate the page. Oops, that goes like that. But this one does have a magnet inside it. And then this set of pages, so these guys cut out. There is a cut apart, and there's another one, and there is a pocket here. And when you're decorating, make sure you put this background paper on it and then put the pocket. I talk about it when I'm going through the tutorial, but that'll open up pretty wide, so you could even put a 5x7 photo there. And then there is another pocket with some cut aparts, well, just photo mats. And that closes up, and these can go inside there. And then here's Santa sitting on his stack of wrapped presents and his naughty and nice list. And that'll open that way, giving you room, I'm sorry about the glare, giving you room to put either 2 smaller photos or 1 large. And then this will open like that, and that'll open that way. I decorated this with some of this paper. I just cut it. It's open on the side, so you could add a large photo. Put one of the cut aparts there, just glued it on 2 sides so you still could put photos there. And then these are also tags or more photo mats inside. Not tags, photo mats. So they're in both of those pages. And these, I just fussy cut some of these gifts from this page and just put them just to add a little bit of interest onto that page. And something else I did, after I cut this and then filled up the pockets and decorated, I realized I should have made this page just a little bit bigger. I mean, I'm okay with it being a little smaller, but I did add an extra 1/4 inch score to make a gusset on here. So I would suggest, excuse me, watch the video one time through, take notes, write down the measurements because I didn't do a cutting guide, and then you can go through and make the mini album. Okay, so on this set of pages, this is the waterfall set of pages. So first I have this gal hanging on to her strung ornaments, and this will open up. It's held in with a magnet, and so these are for your portrait photos. You know, and I probably should put something on that, so I'll go back and do that. And then this will open, this comes down, And that's a cut apart from the cut apart page. And this is pages of waterfalls. I did not fill them or cover these with My Colors cardstock, just because it just gets so thick, and then you put photos over it. But I love how it all coordinates, and that is held in with a magnet. So you can get, geez, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 photos maybe on this page, and 27, almost 30 photos for these two pages. Well, let's say over 25. How's that? So there is that set of pages, and then we come to the final page. This is my favorite paper, so I sort of made you wait to see it at the end, just because we've got the elf again with their glasses now, or their ice cubes in their cranberry cocktail. How about if we call it that? So this comes out. It is a square photo mat. There's the belly band here, and there is a side loading pocket here. So that'll go in there. And I use this border strip from the cut apart sheet, same as I did down here. So we'll talk about that page now. This is an accordion pocket, so you can put in all those extra photos you didn't get anywhere in the book. Now I still give you a photo mat for it, but you know, if you have, this will open up to about an inch. If you have lots of those photos, or I don't know, napkins or newspaper clippings or recipes, or you know, whatever, this will give you a good place to put them in. There is that. And then there's the back to our little candies, and there we are. So there is my Christmas Cheer mini album, which was made from the adorable Christmas Cheer paper, available at Country Craft Creations. Now I will go ahead and put in the tutorial following this, so if you'd like, stay tuned for the tutorial. To make this mini album, you're going to need 2 7x9 pieces of chipboard, and to wrap that you'll need 2 11x9 pieces of cardstock to wrap that. And for the spine, you'll need the 9 by 2.5, and to wrap that you'll need 11 by 5.5. Now I have a video showing you how to wrap your cover. So if you'd like, refer to that. Otherwise, you can start with the cover however you want. The next section will show you how to do the hinge. So you can go ahead and wrap a 7x9, and it's going to be portrait style, and 2.5 by 9 for the spine. So we'll go ahead and start from making the hinge. All right, and now that there we go. Now that we have made the cover, now we're going to make the hinge. So for the hinge, you need an 8.25 by 11 piece of cardstock, and with the 11-inch side up at the top, we're going to start to score at 2 inches. And let me just give you a hint first. The hinge system is going to have a 1/2 inch for the gussets. I'm sorry, 1/2 inch for the pages, 3/8 for the gusset, and there will be 5 signatures. Make sure when you're putting your paper in, you keep it close to the side and at the top. Don't let it wiggle. If you let it wiggle, it's going to become wonky and it won't ever fold straight, and you'll get frustrated. So anyhow, we'll start at 2, 2, 2.5, 3, 3 3/8, 3 7/8, 4 3/8, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, 7 1/8, 7.5, 8, 8.5. So we have hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset. And then once we've gotten that done, we will take this and I am going to take a bone folder and I'm going to score in the middle of each 1/2 inch set. So here's a 1/2 inch on the top, here's a 1/2 inch on the bottom. We're going to score on this line. So I'm going to fold it and score. And while you do that, take the opportunity to make sure the sides are lined up, and that way you'll ensure that your hinge is going to be straight. And then I will fold again between the next set of 1/2 inch marks and burnish. And the next one and burnish. And then the next one and burnish. And we have one more set of 1/2 inch hinges and burnish. So the page has a slight bend to it, and it's bent where those 1/2 inches are. Then what I'm going to do is I want the 2 hinges to make, the best way for me to describe it is they make a mountain. So if you pull this, where it's already scored and burnished, it wants to fold up. So we will let it come up to the top, and then at the bottom you let it pinch the 1/2 inch groupings together, the 2 1/2 inch, the 1 hinge, and then fold it back and forth just to get it a little bit trained. There's no glue yet, but we're training it on how we want the hinge to fold. So I will take my fingers on the top and pull, and on my thumb I'll sort of push, and it will raise up, and I will fold it back and forth, and it will make those 5 sets of hinges. And again, it's not glued, but it's fairly well trained. See, here you can see, I can never get it perfect, but there you can see what it looks like. You have hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset. I'm going to turn it upside down so the gussets will face up, and I am going to take my liquid adhesive. Now you could use score tape if you wanted, and I've used score tape for years. I just have realized that when you use this Art Institute Dries Clear Art Glitter Glue, once you put them together, they do not want to come apart. I mean, have you ever tried to undo something you've already glued with this stuff? Does not want to come apart. I don't really mean that, but it's no big deal that I got the drop of glue on the top. I'm probably putting on too much glue, and that's not good. You put on too much glue, it takes forever to dry. I'm going to go in the center there. Okay, so I've got those sets of hinges filled with glue. I'm going to gently turn this upside down. Don't push it down because you don't want glue on your surface. And then I will pinch these together because they're already trained to go together. Now pinch them together and let the glue adhere. And I'm sort of holding this so they don't slide open. I want them to stay together for a couple of seconds at least to adhere. So I've got them together and they seem nice and strong. They're not trying to open up. I'm still pinching with this finger, just making sure that all the glue's gotten through. All right, and now that the glue is adhered and they're standing straight up, I am going to push them down all in the direction away from me, and I will take my bone folder. I'm taking the bottom edge because that's flatter than right here, and it's just bigger, and I'm going to burnish. And then I'm going to turn them all to face towards me, and with the bone folder I will burnish again. from me. Towards me. So just do it a couple of times. Again, we're training the hinge to go back and forth, and also burnishing, and also making sure the glue is just fully adhered. And that's it. That's how we make our hinges. And now all we need to do is take our hinges and put them on our book. So I do a dry fit first. I make sure that they are centered. Now, this has a 2.5 inch hinge spine. So there is 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on that side room for the hinge. I'm just making sure there's a lot of room, because I'll probably put a waterfall and probably put a big gusseted pocket. And now I'll take this and turn it upside down and add my glue over. I'm staying about a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge, just so it won't all seep out. And I'm just going to cover my hinge with some glue. You want to be generous, but you don't want to cover it entirely. You put on too much, it will take forever to dry, and that's not good either. Now I don't have as much glue on the edges because this is going to be covered with other paper as well. Alright, I'm going to hold it by the edge. Don't pull it apart. You don't want to disrupt your hinges. And that 1/2 inch from the score of where the cover and the spine come together, there's a 1/2 inch there, and there should be a 1/2 inch down at the bottom from the last hinge to where the spine and the cover come together, and the same on top, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And in this case, I've got about 1/2 inch up at the top, and this on the bottom is maybe closer to 3/8 of an inch. I have more room at the top than I do at the bottom, and that looks good to me. Now what I will do is, instead of burnishing right away with my bone folder, I'm going to take my finger and push down, starting in the center. I mean, there's an even number of gussets, so it won't be perfectly centered. And then move one hinge to the side, and with my finger burnish it, and then go to the outer one on the right side, burnish it, and then go to the next one on the left, and then here. I find when I do that, the hinges stay, I don't know, truer? I don't know. I just find when I do that, it gives them enough room to move. And now I'm going to take my bone folder, I'm taking the heel of it, and I'm starting in between where the cover and the spine are attached, and gently going back and forth a couple of times, just to make sure that that crease that the paper will go in the crease, and there's some room there for this paper to fold. And then I'll burnish that side, and then I'll do the same on the other side. I fold it so I can see where that crease is, and then burnish a couple of times, and then burnish like that. And I think I'll add some extra glue there just to make sure it is going to stay down. And that is it. That's good. For the cover with the hinge. Now I'm going to make the pages. Now we're going to make the base pages. So for that you'll need 5 sheets of 8 1/4 by 6 1/4 and 5 sheets of 9 1/4 by 6 1/4. the size of the page will be 8 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to take one set, and I'll put the 9 1/4 inch side at the top and score at 1/2 inch and at 8 3/4. Then I will miter the corners, and generally the best way is to allow your scissors to find that little score line and start from there. So you can do that with 2, and then turn it upside down. And this one I'm just going to go like that. That way you end up not taking off too much. And then I will take this and turn it upside down so the bump of the fold is facing up. Not that it makes much of a difference. And I'll fold at the score line. That one goes towards me. That one goes away from me. Fold and burnish. And then I'm going to get that piece ready, and I will add glue. To both folds. And again, the good thing about using a liquid adhesive is it gives you some time to maneuver the paper. So I will take this and line it up against the edge of the paper, right at the fold line, and line it up at the bottom as well. And then line it up against the fold line here. And then I'll take my bone folder and burnish. And now you've made a tube. All right, now I want to take the tubes and put them over the hinges. So I do a quick dry fit, and I find that it's a little tight. So in this case, I'm going to take my scissors and trim just a little bit off of the corner on both sides, just a little bit, just to make it easier to go down. I mean, really, you don't need to trim off more than, I'm going down about 1/4 inch, and I mean down the hinge, and then over, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch, not very much at all. So you can see I'm just trimming off a little bit. It'll just help make the hinge slide on. And to put the hinge on, well, now I'll dry fit it again. And I always start from the last hinge. And I make sure it fits, and it does. So I will add liquid adhesive in the top third. Just a bead of glue on the top third. And I will take my tube and slide it down and go down till there's about 1/8 of an inch showing. And I want it even. And then when I put the page down, I want it to be even here, even there, even there. And then once I know it's even, I'll go ahead and push it with my fingers. And when I get all 5 pages on, then I will take my bone folder and burnish to make sure that the pages are on. So I will do that with all 5 pages and get them in the book, and then let it dry. And then once I get it down, I'll take my bone folder and burnish on each page. And there we go. And then I will let the book rest and start figuring out what I'm going to do with the rest of the pages. Okay, we're going to put the elements in the inside front cover and on the front of page 1. So for the inside front cover, you will need one piece of cardstock, 4 1/4 by 7 7/8. We're going to score on 3 sides because we're making a pocket, so score on 2 short sides and 1 long side. And I made it 7 7/8 because the page is 7 inches, and normally I add an inch, but I want to make sure that it's not going to go too close to the fold for the spine. Now you'll need 2 pieces at 6 3/4 by 4 1/2, and you're going to score both of those on the short side. So put the long side at the top and score on the short side. And 2 pieces 7 by 4 1/2. So again, long side at the top and score 1/2 inch on the short side. And then we'll grab scissors and miter all those corners and fold and burnish. And I will do that in fast motion. Okay, and first we'll take the pocket and put that on the inside front cover. So I'm going to put my adhesive just on the bottom flap, tab, I don't know what you want to call it. So we'll just put that there and go towards the outside of the cover. So go towards the left hand side, so that way we stay away from where the fold is to the spine, and keep it right at the bottom of the page. And then I'm going to grab some tape and put that on the bottom, so that way when you're putting something in, it doesn't get hung up. And then we'll finish gluing. We'll put glue on the tabs and fold that up. And there we go. Okay, so now for the inside front, or I'm sorry, for page 1 front. So the 7 by 4 1/2 inch pieces, one's going to go on the top, one's going to go on the bottom. So you could do either center them both and center these both, because they're going to go opposite, or you can I don't know, have an inch on, and that's what I'm going to do just to add interest. I don't want to have them totally centered. So one of the 7 by 4 1/2 inch pieces I'm going to put on the bottom right hand side, about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the page. And the other one I'm going to put on the top left hand side, again about 1/4 of an inch away from the left hand side of the page. I know I have my little cloth somewhere. I have to find it. Now one of these will go up at the top and one will go down at the bottom. Same as before. I'm going to open up everything though. I'll go down about 1 inch on the left hand side. Oops. And this one will go down or up about 1 inch on the right hand side. And if you want, you can add a magnet to hold that. Okay, now we're going to work on the back of page 1 and the front of page 2. That's why I have 1B and 2F, and I've written them on the pages just so we keep them straight. So for the back of page 1, you'll need 2 different size pieces of paper, one at 6.5 by 9 and one at 6.5 by 9.5. You're going to take the short side and put it at the top and score at 4.5. Whoops, what am I doing? You're gonna take the long side and put it at the top and score at 4.5. And with the 6.5 by 9.5, you're going to score at half, at 5, and that's it. So let's put those aside and let's do scoring on the next one. So on the next one, you have the 5.5 by 9.5, 2 of them. You're going to score both of those at at half and 5, half and 5, and you don't score the 5.5 by 4.5. But I will go ahead and miter those corners and fold on the score lines. Well, let me just miter the corners first. So for the so what we're going to do is I'm going to fold back the tab, that 1/2 inch tab, and then fold that forward and just fold that in half. And we're just going to be simply joining these 2 pieces. So you have just a little booklet. So here's the flap. It's going to go on the left side, and make sure everything's all straight. It is. And burnish. And burnish. So you just have an accordion booklet. And for this one, we're going to fold and burnish on the score lines. And what I want to do is I'm going to have the tab on the bottom So I put them all together. We'll go ahead and add some glue to the tab and make sure this 5.5 inch piece is right up against the edge of that so it'll be flat. And the same with the other piece. I'm just going to fold that out. We'll put glue on the tab here, so it's sort of on the inside of the tab. And I will fold that in. So what's going to happen is we're going to put our paper on here first, and then this one, and then we're going to put ribbon to tie this, and then we'll put this on top after we've decorated this as well. And that will go up like that, and that will go like that. So you can put lots of pages on this. And then this one, we're going to decorate the page, put ribbon on it, but it will be, or maybe a belly band, I'm not sure what, but this will come, you'll be able to take this out. So you can put 4 by 6 portrait size photos here, and this will be some cut down 4x6 photos, so it's not going to be quite 6 inches long. You might make them 5 inches long, but usually on landscape photos there's extra stuff on the sides, so that will go on those pages, but we have to decorate the pages first, and I will show you once we get to that part of it. All right, now we're going to go to 2B and 3F. All right, so for 2B and 3F, we're going to treat them as a spread. They're going to be similar. So you'll need 2 sheets of cardstock 5.5 by 8 1/4, and 2 sheets of 6 3/4 by 8 1/4. Both of those will put the short side on the top and score at 1/2 inch. And do the same with the 5.5 by 8 1/4. And we'll go ahead and miter and fold. So what we're going to be doing is putting the smaller piece to the outside and the larger piece closer to the spine, the hinge, closer to the inside. So I will add glue and put this on the left-hand side of this page, making sure the top and the bottom are lined up real well. And then the larger piece will go on the outside. Yes, I know my writing is upside down, but that's okay. Nobody's going to see it. So again, make sure that it's lined to the outside, and make sure you still can fold this page. I guess a dry run would have been good, but if you can't fold the page, then just go back and trim a little bit off of it. So I'll put the small piece to the outside. And it's important to get it right to the outside. That way you've got that extra room for the other page. Okay, and then we will, do we want a magnet, either a magnet or a turnbuckle? I'm not sure. When we decorate it, I'll figure that out. All right, let's go to 3B and 4F. Okay, so for the back of page 3, you'll need a piece 7 1/4 by 4 1/4. We're going to make a pocket out of this, so score on 3 sides. 2 short sides and 1 long side. And we will also need a small pocket. So this is 6 by 4 1/4. So again, score on 2 short sides and 1 long side, and of course score at 1/2 inch. And then we're having a top flap. It's 8 1/2 by 5 3/4. So score 1/2 inch with the long side at the top. And then let's move on to 4F. I'm going to turn this just so the rating's proper. So it's 6 3/4 by 8 1/4. Score at 1/2 inch. You'll have 2 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6. You don't need any scoring. You'll have 2 pieces that are 5 by 6 1/4. On this, you're just going to score at 1/2 inch with the short side at the top. And then you'll have 2 pieces, 5 1/2 by 6 3/4. These you'll score on 3 sides, 2 long sides and 1 short side. And of course you will miter, fold, and burnish. So I will do that, and I will speed it up. Alright, so let's work on 3B. I'm going to, I didn't fold and burnish, but I'll do that now. So for this one, we're going to take the small piece that's 6 by 4 1/4, and we will adhere that to the bottom of the 8 1/2 by 5 3/4 page. Just center it and adhere to the bottom. And we'll adhere the other tabs once we've put our paper on. And then we're going to take the top of this, and this will go at the top of 3B. So again, center it on the page and put it on the top. There should be about 1/4 inch showing on both sides. Alright, and I'm going to keep that open, and then the 7 1/4 by 4 1/4 is going to make a pocket, and that will go on the front of the page 3B. So again, I make sure that the right hand side doesn't get in the way of the hinge, and make sure it goes to the bottom of the page, and just put it in. Oh, I probably should have done the bottom and taped it. All right, so that is good. Now for 4F, we're first going to take the 6 3/4 by 8 1/4 and put this on the right hand side of the page. And then open that up, and I'm going to move this out of the way for a sec. So you're going to have the 5 by 6 1/4. One is going to have the flap at the top, one's going to have flap at the bottom. And we're going to take these pockets and put them on the front of each of them with the opening towards the right side. So I will, actually I'll do it the right way. I will put adhesive on the shorter edge and adhere that. I'm going to close that flat so it doesn't get in the way. I'll do this one also. So again, it's going to go on the left-hand side. And grab tape and just put it right there, just so your tag's not going to get hung up on it. And then before we close that, I'm going to get my 1-inch circle punch and just center this just so there's a thumb notch. And then we'll adhere these down. And then bring the book close, open that page up. The one with the flap on the bottom is going to go on the bottom of the page. And make sure this will still fold. And the one with the flap on the top will go on the top of the page. Like that, and then that still will close. So that is what we're going to do for that. Next we move on to 4B and 5F. Alright, so for 4B and 5F we're going to have two different kinds of waterfalls. We're going to have a landscape and a portrait. So for 4B you'll need 4 pieces of cardstock 6 1/4 by 6 3/4. And one piece 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. Put the 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 aside and score 1/2 inch with the short side at the top on the long side. And we are not going to miter these corners. I just want to remind you, if you've made waterfalls before, you know that you don't miter the corners of the waterfalls. All right, I'm going to put them aside and score everything else. So for 5F, you'll need 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. You'll need 9 of them. Let me start with these. And we will score these 1/2 inch on the long side with the short side at the top. So this, on the right hand side, it will be a waterfall going all the way down the page of 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So you can put your 4 by 6 photos on there with no problem. And on the other side, it's going to be the same thing, but those will be portrait photos. And then this one as well. All right. And again, don't miter the corners on any of them, but it wouldn't hurt to take a second and fold and burnish on the score lines of all of those pieces. I guess it's 10 pieces all together. So the good thing is you can get a lot of photos on these 2 pages. So if you are doing a Christmas album, as I am using this Christmas paper, you tend to have a lot of photos. Now maybe this is where you have photos of everybody who comes to visit, or this is your Christmas dinner, or I don't know, whatever you do on Christmas that is part of your tradition. All right, let's start with these and the 6 1/4. I'm going to turn this upside down, not that it's going to show, but just to make sure it doesn't. And I will apply the adhesive. Of course, I should have put the pin in and I didn't, but now I did. And you want enough adhesive so you have some wiggle room, but not so much that it's gloppy. So I'm going to line up the top corner and then the side, and then make sure it is straight. I'll fold and burnish. And then I will do the same with the other 4 pieces. Once you've gotten the first one on, and all you're doing with the other ones is lining them up with what you've got. And hopefully it's still straight, but if you need to, adjust it here just so it stays nice and straight. And there we have that. And also grab, for this one where the waterfall is landscape, I will take a piece of, this is just scrap paper. This happens to be 1.5 inches by 6, and I'm not going to need it 6 inches. I just am going to score it at 3 inches. And I'll fold that. I'll add glue to this bottom piece and put it, just center it, and make sure the fold is showing, and there you go. So we'll put a magnet to hold that down. So that's one. And this, of course, we'll have to put the paper first before we put this in the book. And this one is not necessary to put the paper first before you put it in the book. So with this, we will just start at the top, add your adhesive, and just go down the page, making sure it's straight as I go. So I'm going to speed this up, but you get the idea. Just go one after another. Put the bottom of the next one, the bottom of the top of the next one lined up right at the bottom of the next one. So you're going to have ½ an inch between each waterfall. All right, now we have one piece left, and I'm going to put that one on the bottom, so it's going to, I just want to make sure this is going to all fit. I'm going to put the piece on the bottom so it will overlap on the top and offer a closure. Now you could do another closure like this if you wanted to, but whatever you want to do. And you also could, if you wanted to, put a pocket in here. Do I want to put a pocket in there? I don't know. I'll think about it. When I'm decorating it, I'll think about it. So that's what you have to do for those pages, and now we'll move on to the last page. And I've actually made a change. You'll see it listed, but instead of 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, you'll have 6 1/4 by 6. You'll put these on the 6 1/4 inch side. And then the other change is on 5F, instead of 9 at 6 1/4 by 4 3/4, you'll do 8. And you'll also do one at 6 1/4 by 5 1/2. And the reason for that is we're going to still score with the 5 1/2 inch side at the top, score on the 6 1/4 inch side. So then you'll have room. Here, let me do it real quick. And we'll fold this, and we'll put this down on the bottom of the page and there is enough of an overlap that you can put a magnet in there now. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then these will close and that will close, and there will be a magnet there, and there will also be a magnet here holding that closed as well. And you could go like this and put this on the outside if you want to, but I'm going to put it that way with the magnet, and that way you've got the two, you've got the landscape and you've got the portrait. So there we go with that, and then again we'll move on to the next page. All right, we are on the home stretch now. So for the back of page 5, you will need one piece 5 3/4 by 9 1/4, one piece 2 by 9 1/4, and a piece 5 1/2 by 7 3/4. This will be the photo mat to go inside the pocket, and we will make a pocket. But first we'll take the 2 1/2 with the 9 1/4 inside at the top, score at 1/2 inch and 8 3/4. And with the 5 3/4 inside at the top for the other one, score at 1/2 on the long side, and then rotate it and score with the long side at the top at 1/2 and 8 3/4. Okay, I am going to put the elements on page 5B. So we are going to have the tab on the long side pointing to the right, so there's an opening on the left side. We'll take the other piece, and that is going to make a belly band on here, and I'm going to center it on this piece. Now you can, if you wanted to, put that on the page and center it on the page, but I'm just going to center it on this piece. So I'm going to add glue to the tabs and just adhere it. I'm eyeballing it. And then we'll take this and put it on the page. So I will put just that longer tab on the right hand side of the page, right up against where the cover is, where the spine is. Just center it. And then I'm going to take a piece of tape and tape that up, just so it makes it easier. Whoops, well, I guess it's going to go down now. When you put something in, so it doesn't get stuck. There we go. No worries. And then I'll put glue on these sides and adhere that. So there we go with that. And of course this other 5 1/2 by 7 3/4 inch piece is going to go in the pocket. Alright, then we'll do the back cover. We're going to have a pocket with a flap. Alright, inside back cover. You'll just need two pieces, one at 9 7/8 by 5 1/2 and one at 6 7/8 by 5 1/2. The 6 7/8 by 5 1/2, put the 5 1/2 side at the top and score 1/2 inch down the long side. The 9 7/8, you're going to put the long side at the top, the 9 7/8, score at 1/2, at 1, at 1 1/2, and then jump over and score at 8 3/8, 8 7/8, and 9 3/8. And then rotate it so the short side's at the top and score at 1/2 inch. Now we're going to miter this, and to miter this piece you're going to go up to the first score line from the bottom, and then across across the 2 score lines and stopping at the 3rd one, so you have that little piece coming out. And go at a bevel, a slight bevel, not a lot, just a little bit. So I'm starting at about an eighth of an inch away from the score line and ending up right at the score line. And then this one just miter as usual. And we'll fold and burnish this page. And so this one I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to make the first fold on the score line in, so towards the center of the paper, and then go out towards the edge of the paper and in again towards the center. And you'll do the same for this. I'm turning it away, and first is in towards the center, out, and then in. And this one I'm moving these away and folding this up. And then what I'm going to do before I adhere this is add, I'm going to hold these down with my fingers, and add just a little bit of glue down on the very bottom of the paper and fold this over and make sure that'll adhere. Okay, then I'm going to grab corner rounders and round the corners here. You don't have to. It's probably just a habit of mine that whenever I have a flap over a pocket, I like the corners rounded. Alright, I'm going to grab my book. We'll put the bottom piece on first. But I will not just adhere this and put tape on it. We're going to glue it all down at one time. And I guess I could have mitered up there, but I didn't. And then when you put it down, leave about an 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. You go to the bottom, but leave a space about an 1/8 of an inch. We've got room because we cut this. This is at 7 inches, and we cut it at basically at 6 7/8. So you have a little bit of room. And then here we'll add glue. And when we put this one on, we're going to make sure that it is even with the sides of the pocket already. So I'm lining it up with the pocket, getting to the top of the page. And there we go. So that will open, and then this has just a little bit of a expansion room, so you can put all those extra photos and ephemera you might have. And that is how I made the book, and that is it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. There are lots of great uses for this. There are not many pockets. I'm trying to sort of stay away from pockets. It's a design element. And so that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, and hopefully you're already a subscriber, and if not, just go ahead and subscribe real quick. Thanks again. Have a fabulous day.